Have you ever been bombarded with your inner thoughts to use the consumption of material goods to solve a sense of belonging problem? Well, I've been experiencing a lot of that recently after moving to an entirely new company. So a lot of these people who are already working for such a company, they've been here for 3, 5, some up to 15 years. And a lot of these people, they stick with the company and they kind of switch functions as they go. But the most important thing is that these people are already formed a pretty tight-knit community and everyone pretty much knows everyone, and the rapport has already been built over years and years of people working together. So as someone who's new, I have to do my best to acclimate myself within this new environment that I'm placing myself in. And a lot of times, as I'm also more of an anxious person, I give myself a lot of pressure when it comes to adapting to a new place. And I know that this is not exactly the most healthy thing, but a lot of times I give myself a lot of pressure and a lot of anxiety, and oftentimes I freeze. I freeze when it comes to my thoughts, when it comes to what I say to people, especially when it comes to these social interactions that are kind of one off in the hallway or when you're taking the elevator. It freezes me. And recently it's been getting a little better, but oftentimes the inner voice keeps telling me that, oh, I have to really speed up this progress. I have to prove myself. I have to prove myself to these people. I have to fit in. And that's just one part of it. And the part that follows is the inner voice is also telling myself to consume more. So my assumption is that my subconscious is telling me that I have to be more like these people physically and aesthetically in order to better fit in and solve that problem where I freeze up in the office or when I'm talking to people. What this is that the mind is resorting to consumption and the collection of more material goods in order to symbol more status and to signal that you also want to be a part of the group. And that's what I've been contending with recently, especially when it comes to browsing online for products, because certain people, especially people at the let's say VP level, they're quite fashionable and they're quite stylistically advanced, I would say. And I found myself to feel a lot more pressure to buy into brands that are more expensive, brands that are more exclusive, brands that are more niche in order to appeal to this made up thought in my mind that if I wear this type of stuff, if I consume these products, then it will bring me to onto the same level as all of these people up there. And I honestly think that this is quite toxic. And I'm trying my best to contend with these thoughts because I don't want to buy stuff for the sake of buying stuff. Because if you're consuming in order to resolve a sense of belonging problem, then this solution, by definition, is going to be temporary. It's fleeting. My emotions and the things that my inner voice and my subconscious have been telling me are also fleeting. It's dependent on the situation, on the context, and depending on the familiarity of your surroundings. So I do believe that as time progresses, this is going to be better. This is definitely going to resolve itself once I get more used to the workflow, the systems, the people, how to talk to different types of people. So this is also a reminder to myself and also anyone who's watching that it's although you might already have an understanding behind the reasons and the mechanisms of why these thoughts come up regularly, and especially when you're pushing yourself into a scenario that's absolutely new, that the body is not yet used to. It's normal, and even with a lot of knowledge about status and why you behave in such a way, and how the body responds to novelty, and your internal levels of stress and anxiety, that is also based on you and based on your genes. So I think there's also a genetic reason to why some people are more susceptible to pressure coming from yourself, and having a really, really high standard of being able to get used to a new environment fast. So I'm just trying to remind everyone that it's normal, and a lot of times you have to step in and tell yourself that it is not the right thing to do, to cave in to these thoughts and to succumb to, subliminal messaging that are embedded within, advertising, and are especially attuned to how we function as human beings. Because we're status seeking, we want to get along with people, but at the same time, we want to get ahead. These struggles, these psychological internal struggles are real. It's also just another person talking to a camera telling you, do not cave in to those thoughts, those thoughts that want to trigger more consumption from happening. Because that, at the end, will not solve internal sense of belonging issues. And in order for us to solve sense of belonging issues, a lot of it comes from within. You have to resort to internal solves for internal problems. And that's everything for today.